Hey everybody, welcome back to Challenged Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt, co-founder of Challenged Athletes Foundation, and today we're fortunate enough to speak to three of our amazing parents of our challenged athletes. We have Sue Rodriquez and Carolyn Ray and Doug Henry. How are all you guys doing?
We're doing good.
I love it. So just want to go through some background. So Sue, let's start with you.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about Ella growing up and connecting with CAF and how that changed things for you guys.
Well, Ella was someone who was really shy as far as trying to hide her legs. She didn't want to be seen as any different. About the same time that the differences kind of showed with her peers, she was asked for Christmas, asked Santa for friends that look like her. So I posted it on Facebook, reached out, and Challenged Athletes, Travis Ricks, he actually reached out to us and brought us down to San Diego Triathlon Challenge. And ever since, it's been, our lives have changed. It opened up new avenues, let Ella find her people and her family, and created lots of opportunities in adaptive sports, and it's just been a great experience. CAF is our family, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us and all the other adaptive athletes.
And for parents who have challenged athlete kids, just the importance of sport. Right? You look at everything that Ella's into, from cheerleading to wheelchair basketball to track and field. How important has sport been?
Well, I think that Ella has always been like movement, and has always been something for Ella that feeds her soul. And I think that then coming into team sports and working with both able-bodied and adaptive athletes has been a phenomenal thing for Ella to work as a team and learn what it's like to be a team member. I think that the best things that have come out of it is just that Ella has a community of people that she can rely on, that there's not any they're not all the same as far as their ability, but they all understand, and it can be a non-issue, and they can just be themselves.
So Doug, let's talk a little about Alex. I love the photo behind you, and that photo is, I think, 2015, and it was 5 days after Alex had her leg amputated?
Yes. No, it was about 5 days after the end of chemo. She had the amputation in April,
right?
But we just literally finished our last round of chemo 5 days prior, and I think it was just amazing that during the process, we were introduced to CAF through Stan and the Boheniks, and meeting Breezy very early on in the process, and all along he kept saying, I have this amazing opportunity, but you got to get better first. And so the timing just worked out, and all of a sudden we're talking about CAF, and next thing you know, we're talking to Travis, and we're flying down there, and here we are in that picture, 5 days after her final round of chemo, and met these amazing young ladies that, just changed her life. Honestly, it's just been fantastic.
She's got the bandana on her head. She was on crutches. I remember just how, and right away, it seemed like she knew she had a new community.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're a high school of, 1,800 kids. Nobody, hardly anybody with a disability and let alone an amputation. And for her to go down there and to see this community and to see these three girls with the same exact thing, and just embrace her immediately, it was overwhelming, to be quite frank. But it's just awesome. I don't even know how to describe it.
How has it been with the other parents too? Because also seems to be a bond between the parents of challenge athlete kids because you guys learn from each other.
Yes. I mean, we're extremely blessed again for the Boheniks to be, an hour the east of us in the Bay Area. We got introduced to them through a mutual friend here in Sacramento that her sister's child went to school with Breezy. And we were playing Little League with the one of the nephews over here. And they just said, oh, there's a girl in the Bay Area. And I think she had the same thing and she's doing fantastic. We got to meet her. And boom, next thing you know, 2.5 hours later, I'm on the phone with Stan for about 3 hours. And everything it was just a ray of fresh air. We're literally in the fog of osteosarcoma. And it was just, it just changed. It changed her entire path, I think, for our family. And all of these parents that we've gotten to know I consider lifetime friends, and just have been supportive 100% of the way, way above and beyond I could ever imagine.
So Carolyn, you went through obviously something very similar with Kelly. Talk a little bit about your experience dealing with osteosarcoma and with a young daughter.
Yeah. Well, for me, there was another layer altogether because by profession, I'm a medical oncologist. And so when we got the diagnosis, there's, a different level of understanding. And so my past experience as a doctor kind of painted the way that I saw it. And I had actually no experience with it in children. Because I'm an adult, physician. And I knew what we had to do to get her through the treatment, but I had no idea what to do with this, my 10-year-old daughter at the end of treatment, like how you can, you give them the chemotherapy and the surgery and what have you to get them past the illness, but then to be able to move on with life, that's a whole different set of needs. And kind of like Doug was saying, for Alex to be able to finish chemo 5 days prior to the San Diego Triathlon Challenge. I remember with Kelly, we finished chemo just a couple weeks prior to a mobility clinic. Oh, there's Stan, a mobility clinic in New York City. And that was the moment when Kelly actually saw that there was going to be, an active, healthy life for her after all of this treatment, because she didn't even recognize herself at the end of it. And CAF showed her that, you can still be a child and be happy and be active, and you will be able to do everything that it was that you were doing before, and you'll surprise yourself by doing things you had never done. Kelly never surfed before she went out to San Diego for SDTC, and she had skied prior. She had no idea how she would be able to do that again until she met some of the CAF athletes and the mentors and people who showed her that her life would only be limited by, the barriers that she set up in her own mind, because where there's a will, there's a way. And I think thanks to CAF, she realized that her life had changed, but her spirit and her heart and her body was unbroken. It was different, but she just had to figure out how to adapt. And that's such a gift.
So that first running clinic, she probably came there on crutches.
She did. She came on crutches because, she was following, and I mean, this is partly because we're compulsive, right? As a clinician, they give you a recipe. They say, okay, you do 10 minutes, once a day of weight bearing, then you do, because she hadn't fully healed the incision line at the end of her residual limb. And so they were being very careful, with it. And nursing her through that. And as it was healing, they would say, okay, you can add another minute once or twice a day. And then, we were being very careful with that. And then she met Travis at the mobility clinic, and she was crutching over, and he said, why are you using those? And she said, well, they told me can only do so many minutes. And he said, does it hurt? And she said, no. And he said, well, then you don't need them. He's like, use them when it hurts, and she put him down, and she didn't use him again after that, except at nighttime when she wasn't wearing a leg. And even now, sometimes she rebels and doesn't use them then. She's like, no, I don't need these.
What I love is she's about to head off to college.
Yeah, she is, which is, that was 8 years ago when I think about, those clinics were, yeah.
Love it. And joining us, we have Stan Bohenik. Daughter is Breezy. Stan, how you doing?
Very good. I was late to the party because I was on the mountain with my son training, getting ready for Breezy's training. So I was 3 hours deep into exercise.
I love it. And I know Breezy was planning to do Ironman Arizona and would have been probably the youngest amputee woman to have done an Ironman. And then obviously everything was canceled. How has she been able to, is she still training?
She is, and I'm actually surprised. All the kids, everybody's been supporting. All 5 of our children, or all 4 of her siblings, have been very supportive of Breezy's attempt to want to be the youngest to do an Ironman with an above-the-knee prosthetic. And so I was surprised that everybody, when it was canceled, said, let's just delay it till 2021 and just train for another year. And I'm like, excellent. I just was kind of surprised that everybody said, we're all in. So I think it's going to make us as a family all the much better and more prepared for that kind of a race.
So take me back to when Breezy was diagnosed and how she handled it and how you as a family handled it.
Well, we were pretty blessed first by her attitude. So she was 9 when she was diagnosed, and she just had a positive attitude from the beginning. And right from the start said, maybe I can just get one of those robot legs. And we were shocked by that this would come out of her mouth. And it turns out within a couple of weeks, we were having that exact conversation with her. And then within a month from that, just through friends and family, we were talking with Sarah Reinertson on the phone about this brave decision that she was making to amputate her leg. And it just all happened so quick. So we were blessed to have CAF in our lives from the beginning, right from the start. So, Breezy had nothing more than, or she had everything, a vision of what, could be ahead of us that started from, a lot of good people that had been there before. And so we weren't kind of left scrambling and thinking what next. We had all the answers kind of from the beginning.
How important have the relationships been with other kids who are dealing with a very similar type of challenge?
I think it's one of the more critical aspects. And I think the majestic, beautiful part of CAF, in the sense that, as much as, you try to be a parent and you share your wisdom with your daughter about what's coming, and even the doctors that, that share this kind of, here's what to expect. It's a totally different thing when it's somebody else that's gone through this. It's your own age. That there's an immediate they just are all in. They understand. They know that this is somebody that's done exactly what they've done, and so they got complete credibility. Whereas us, they know that we're just saying the words, and so it's a critical aspect. And I love that that the group has been able to connect even through social media and maintain that kind of relationship, because it's a good crutch to be able to fall back on.
Watching your daughter go to Wildflower and do the sprint triathlon, not long after getting her running leg, what did that mean to you as a father?
It was beautiful. I remember when I first suggested that to her, because it was only about you and I had talked, and it was about 10 days before she had got that running leg, 10 days before the Wildflower. And so I suggested it to her, and she said she was all in, not knowing exactly what it was. But I remember being choked up and in tears during the event, just because, now I've got somebody that's very active and wanting to and doing the kind of things that she wanted to do. So it was completely different from what, you think that picture might look like once you got kind of a devastating thing like losing your leg. And it was incredibly, moving for me.
So this is for all you guys. What I've seen from my position has always been that I think our amputee kids, grow up quicker. They mature quicker because they have to. Every time they leave the house, people are staring at them. Have you seen that? You just see them become more comfortable in their own skin and be able to handle whatever life is going to throw at them? Let's start with Doug.
Yes, I would agree 100%. It's, she's had, some groups of friends and that were there through the thick and thin of everything and were amazing. And, had some trials and tribulations, I think, as, teenage girls do. But as Stan said, the one consistent has been this group with a group of girls with CAF, and like they're going to be friends forever. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind at some level. And having that as a parent is just, it's amazing. And to say that they've grown up fast is, I think, an understatement. They are very intelligent, old souls for what they've been through. And it's really amazing to be a part of.
Carolyn, from your perspective?
I couldn't agree with them more. It's when I think back to our first experience out in San Diego, and Kelly didn't compete in the triathlon. We were there just to kind of take it all in. And at one point, I remember the kids came back from the triathlon, and there were probably 30 young children, in the pool at that hotel. And there were prosthetic limbs strewn all about, and there was hooting and hollering and, so much fun and joy in that pool. And it was so natural and so, accepted, and the kids were just so comfortable. And like Stan and Doug said, they've grown up together. More recently, they'll go out in the car to an escape room together, the teenagers now, or they'll go and get a cup of coffee, get a latte or whatever. The girls are all growing up together, just like, their able-bodied peers, and they're able to joke and to share, laugh at the things that are sometimes challenging to them as well. I think, they started out with a little group chat for that group. It was 4 girls, 3 feet. And now, because they've, the group has gotten bigger and there are some young men involved, it's 9 people, 9 feet. And, it's grown. And they just really, have this type of acceptance and that common bond of understanding that, both, Stan had mentioned, we don't have the same kind of credibility that those other teenagers have. Even as, professionals or practitioners, we haven't lived what they've lived. And I just think it is such a beautiful thing that they have each other like that.
And Sue, from your perspective, living in Gilroy and being fairly isolated, how hard was that for Ella, and also just coming down to SDTC and seeing all those other kids missing limbs? How important was that for her?
Well, to say it wasn't life-changing is, it's an understatement. I think that when you are not around, people that can relate to you, when you're not around people who are similar to you, you just, you feel like you're completely isolated. Going down and meeting the kids, it just made such a difference in Ella's life. It's just, there's nothing to compare.
And Stan, one of the things that I love with our kids, when we talk about them growing up quick, but also it's important for our kids to give to that next generation. And I've seen that in all your kids, right? We've seen it in all your kids wanting to help that next kid. Stan, you've seen that with Breezy. How important is that to her?
I think it's really, really important. As a family, we've definitely adopted. We had so much goodwill that was coming to us from the community and from CAF community that we wanted to make sure that we continued to pay that forward. And what I love about CAF, it's the feather in the cap. When we first talked with other families, like for instance, Doug and Alex, we recognize, you know, the first factor is saving life, right? I mean, so that's the conversation you have immediately. But in the back of my mind, immediately, I told him, actually, the first time I talked to him, I'm like, hey, we're gonna have some fun conversations too, but I'm gonna reserve those and save those. And I knew, because I'm gonna introduce them to CAF. It's something that's important, that's gonna be a big part of recovery, and it's a critical factor in terms of, you know, you're focused very quickly with life, and then you say, hey, I want to share some good things too. There's some really good, fun, uplifting, you know, lifelong kind of adventures that you can be involved in, and it's critical. It's very important, and so good to be able to have that as a resource.
Stan, what's your favorite CAF moment?
Oh, I've got a lot of favorite CAF moments, although mine are probably personal. And it's the time that I've spent with so many of the donors and the people that really care about CAF, coming down the coast from San Francisco to San Diego on that bike ride. I didn't know, I'm not a bike rider. I rode today for 3 hours. I'm so sorry, I forgot. But I've learned to love these kinds of things because of the community, because of the people. And so that's probably one of my most special things, is sharing that with so many people that just care to give.
Doug, what's your favorite CAF moment?
Again, I think there's a lot of them, and many with the girls. But I was thinking about it last night, and one thing that jumped out was, I just can't get out of my head. I'm getting a little choked up about it. But it was Sam Day and Rob Machado catching that wave at the Bro-Am, and to see that entire beach like light up when he got that wave. And those that weren't there, I mean, it was way out there. It was the end of the set. Everything was kind of closing down, and to see like that, just what Sam loved to do, and that, I don't know, that's just etched in my mind, is just like, this is what it's all about. And they created that opportunity for him, and I don't think I'll ever forget that moment.
And there were 5,000 people cheering him on. I mean, it was incredible.
It was
really
amazing.
That was great. Sue, how about you? A favorite CAF moment?
I don't know. I think that there's just so many. I remember the first time that Ella surfed. One of the other moms and I, we were joking around, and Ella got to surf with oh no, now it's
Rob Machado?
yeah. We didn't know who he was. We thought he was really handsome. but Ella got to surf with him, and it was just like, they're like, hey, you know who that is? We're like, nope, we have no idea. But that was a lot of fun. I don't know. There's seriously so many moments where you're just, your hair on your head and your arms just stand straight up, and you're just completely touched just by the fellowship, the kind words, the advice that you get. There's just so many, and the families, they, you know, it means a lot. It means a lot to be able to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm having this issue, and you know, and it changes with time, but the support system is just incredible.
What I loved seeing with Ella was when she presented that basketball chair, right?
Oh, that's fun.
That was like the coolest
Right?
moment.
Yeah.
You could tell her that meant a ton to her, to be
It
able to
did.
pass it on
So
to
much.
the next wheelchair basketball kid. And she might be playing college wheelchair basketball down the line.
Yeah, looking like it. We'll see.
I love it.
Next year.
Carolyn, what's your favorite?
You know, like they said, there are so many different moments. I think though that probably, you know, they're all so beautiful, but one of the really touching points was in the car coming home after our first CAF experience, where like for us personally, you know, for my husband and I, seeing the kids in the pool and you know, just the magic of the actual day of the triathlon, taking that all in, and you know, you just think no excuses, you know, there is so everything is possible, and you just got to do it. But in the car, Kelly said, you know, when we said, what did you think? She's like, these are my peeps, you know, and that's to have to have the 10-year-old say that when we thought, you know, because after the treatment and all the changes to her body and her life and that feeling of, because we were on the East Coast, you know, when this happened. And so we did have that taste of CAF in New York at the clinic. But when you really get a sense, like Sue was saying, you know, we're a little bit isolated. She's the only one in our town who we're aware of that's an amputee, and, you know, in her school, certainly. And so to find her peeps was just like, you go, oh my God, it's just awesome. That was my favorite moment. And I think from then it's just been icing on the cake. They get better. We look forward to it every year. We love everybody who's, you know, part of the CAF family.
Well, thank you all for being part of the CAF family. You and your kids have brought so much joy to CAF. I want to thank you personally for helping CAF become what it is today. It doesn't happen without all of you reaching out to each other and just giving your love and heart to CAF. Thank you all for joining me on Challenge Athletes Live.
Thank you. Happy 2021 to a healthy and safe 2021.
Hopefully we'll all be together. That would be nice.
For sure.
Again, Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll catch you next time.